It's definitely a Monday episode of Bid Nerds, everyone. Welcome. We are off to a late start because it's Monday. But hey, we're starting off a great week of Bid Nerds, your daily nerd out on the most interesting cars of the day on Cars and Bids and Bring a Trailer and maybe some other auction sites as well, as they seem to be popping up like dandelions around here.
Yeah.
As spring approaches, there will be more automotive enthusiast auction sites than I think there will be models of Porsche, and that's a lot. Hello, everybody. My name is John Polnik. I'm your host. I'm coming to you live from the Las Vegas, Nevada Strip right here in beautiful downtown Las Vegas, along with my partner, Michael Deeb, who's coming to you live from San Francisco Bay, where all the fog is at. What is up, Michael Deeb? How are you?
Good morning, JP. It is definitely an effing Monday.
Mm-hmm. Cheers to that one. Yeah, I could use about 8 more cups of coffee to keep this one
Seriously.
Late night last night, maybe, right? I don't know. Not even.
Yeah.
It's just the gizmos. Well, hey, so for those of you who are new to the channel, what we do here is we pick a bunch of cars that we think are interesting. We take suggestions from the audience, and we talk about those cars that are hitting the auction block today. We talk about cars that are going to sell, or at least they're going to try to sell. Their auctions are ending within hours of this show, the time that we publish this show. So we make predictions as to what we think those cars will finally, what the last bid will, what those cars will hammer for, and then we keep track of those bids. If you saw this show maybe in a thumbnail suggestion or something like that, you may have seen the thumbnails for a Porsche 912, a 1976 car. That car is going to be auctioning off here in just a couple hours, or at least the auction is finishing. So stick around for that. But before we get to that car, we're going to talk about last week just a little bit. The last so Friday we made our predictions for the end of the week, and that was an interesting day. A lot of really cool cars. How did that work out for us, Michael Deeb?
Pretty good actually. You had quite a Friday though, if I remember.
I had to catch up. I had a lot of catching up to do. You had a good week.
I had a good week, but you definitely did some catching up on Friday because with the exception of one bright spot for me, JP, you got 4 right on Friday, which was a very strong finish.
I recall I was close to some Yahtzees on that one too.
Yeah, on the 1987 Porsche 924S. Again, this car was from the Pacific Northwest, which is where you're from. So I think there's something fishy there. I'm gonna have to have the park ranger give us a ruling on that one. But you were $76 off of a Yahtzee on that car. Man. I said $8,000. You said $7,000. That car sold for $6,924, which was a very cute ending. 924, get it? But anyway, the car sold for that.
Somebody who was getting cute, and they cost me a Yahtzee. Thanks a lot, whoever that was.
Yeah. Right. Our star car though was that JP. Do you remember that Mark 1 83 Rabbit GTI, the original godfather of the brand? I mean, that car was like a time machine. Even though it had I think over 100,000 miles, it looked just super clean, all original, unmolested, and just the silver paint. The decals were correct. The wheels were correct. The interior looked like it had 40,000 miles on it. It barely showed anywhere. Super clean car. And it brought the money. In fact, it was the only one I won. I said 19,000. You said 20,000. The car sold for $19,250. So I just avoided a draw with you on that one. The car sold there. Well sold, well bought. Congratulations to the new owner. We also looked at a 91 Volkswagen Vanagon Westfalia. And this was interesting. I said 16,000. You said 17,000. The car looked like it was long past due for some service and maintenance. Cosmetically, it was okay, but there wasn't any record of this car's been maintained or upkept or whatever, and a lot of miles, almost 300,000 miles on a JP. So I think you and I were both a little bit surprised it brought $20,000. You were closer. Yeah. You won that one.
Yeah, that one, I mean, you can get a better Vanagon if you just look around. I mean, people say that, it used to be auction sites where you got a deal on cars, but now, I mean, really with Bring a Trailer, it's where you find the car you want. That's the kind of the
exactly right.
You're not getting a deal on Bring a Trailer. You're probably going to pay the premium of premium, but you're going to maybe save yourself the searching around for something. I mean, but these are not that hard to find. I don't understand why they're going for such huge premiums on these auction sites, given that you can can go on Craigslist anywhere and find one. Within a few days, you're going to find a nicer one than this one. That's for sure, for a lot less money. I mean, this car is going to cost whoever bought this another 10 grand in maintenance. This thing's really a problem. But
right.
All right.
It's bummer. Yeah. And that, I don't know. I didn't really like that paint job either. I don't know. I'm being weird, but a strange car. We talked about the 924. We also looked at a 92 Suzuki Samurai. And JP, boy, man, you were all over this. I said $9,000. It's just surprising. Again, these cars, I think we were saying, it's just over $7,000 brand new. Yeah. And anyway, you said 10 and you were clearly stronger on this car than I was. And you were right. The car brought 11,500. Again, you were closer. That was a win for you.
That one, it's weird with these Suzukis because I'm still, I meant to look it up over the weekend. I don't think I didn't think they still made them in 92. I thought they were replaced with the Suzuki Sidekick. They had come out with a newer kind of more 90s one that was a little wider, so it wasn't, so it had a little bit more stable track to it because people were complaining, like you said, that they fell over because they were trying to drive them like the GTI when it's just a little utility vehicle. Right. But yeah, and Geo, the General Motors company had licensed them and they had a version of it called I think it was the Geo Tracker. Yeah, so it was they were both Suzuki Sidekicks. And so I just thought that it was replaced by then, but maybe that was 93. So I think
I wonder if they ever had both cars available on the showroom floor at the same time.
They may have, and or it may have been like
if they overlapped,
overlap for a little bit. Yeah. Because they were certainly much more rare by that point. But the Samurai, way cooler, way better looking than the Sidekick.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
the Sidekick was all round and Japanese, whereas this looked like a small Jeep or a small Land Rover.
A Geo, what is it? Geostorm Safari. It was awful looking.
Anyway, well sold. 11,500. This car brought $5,000 more than the original sticker. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Back in JP in the 90s, you couldn't give these cars away. I mean, adjusted for inflation,
that's about what it was worth, right? I mean, the real value of $11,000 today is about the same as $6,000 or $7,000 back then.
But what I'm saying is, and that's a fair point. That's an absolutely fair point. I'm not trying to steal your point, but like. The market was flooded with these things and they had a bad rap. I mean, like I just remember them there was a period of time where these were kind of worthless cars.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's very interesting to see again, Radwood, the 80s. I know you watched the Super Bowl, even if you weren't like really into it. Mm-hmm. All of the advertisement had 80s slapback and the music and stuff.
A lot of 90s,
a lot of 80s stuff. And so, with the proliferation of Radwood and these sites, these cars are getting their moment. And now look at this Samurai. I would think this result is going to bring a lot of Samurais to the platforms. We'll probably see a few of these kept moving forward.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope there's some clean ones out there. I mean, like everything else that gets cheap, they get just destroyed. And because you're right, you said it, they disappeared from the landscape after a while because they all just fell apart and whatever. But you still see people goating them out there on the off-road cruise. But they're
in the Bay Area, these things were like Priuses. I mean, you were always behind one, and they were slow, and everybody thought they're having a great time, and you're like, "Get out of my way!" And then when this one came up, I was like, "God, I literally can't remember the last time I saw a Suzuki Samurai," and they were everywhere, and they were all white too. It was really funny.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Moving on. What else? So what was the last car of the day? Yeah.
2007 BMW Z4M. You and I both fell in love with this car. It's like we almost, one of us almost talked ourselves into buying this damn thing. I said 31, which I thought was a lot of money for the car. You said 33, and this car sold for 35,000, which was
and I did say when we were in, that's like two almost Yahtzees. I got to follow my gut because I said after I said my bet, I'm like, you know what? I'm just betting conservative because I need to catch up and I need to be tighter and not give you not enough of a spread. But I did say I'm almost positive on the show. Go back and watch. Somebody check for me. I did say this car should be 35 grand, and it went for 35 grand. This is a cool one.
The color was beautiful. I love the wheels that the guy put on there. It's manual, it's rear-wheel drive, it's normally aspirated. I mean, this might go down as one of the last really good driver's car BMW ever made, and
Yeah.
yet they're still a little bit under the radar. Maybe not for long because Bitters covered this one, but there you go.
Well, that's a good point, Deeb, because look at the earlier the coupe, the M coupe of the Z3 variety. Those are worth more than these, and they're ugly.
Oh man,
I mean, I love them, but they're ugly. They're straight up there. One of the ugliest cars are called clown shoes for a reason, but they're just awesome in a certain way. Shooting brake,
shooting brake,
but the Z4 M Coupe is one of the coolest looking sports cars maybe of all time.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they haven't found their place. I'm glad they haven't yet because I'm going to go get one.
Yeah, I worked it out in my head while we were doing our take. Is that it's got a bunch of crease lines, and yet it's still round to the eye. Chris Bangle did kind of knock it out of the park with that design. Yeah. Anyway, JP, you had a great Friday. 4 wins to my 1, but I had a slightly better week despite your strong finish. We had no draws and no Yahtzees. Mm-hmm. You tallied 12, and I tallied 13. And it's mostly because
I brought it back within 1.
Yeah,
if I had just gotten one Yahtzee, I would have evened it up.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
See, that's why doing your homework, kids, makes sense, because Michael Deeb over there does his homework, and I don't. Yep. I'm a slacker.
I was very I had a fantastic Tuesday. It's my first flush where I got them all.
Yeah.
But JP, it's a new week, and I'll give you a chance. It is. Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. We start over. We start from the beginning here. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks for watching so far this episode. This is, Bid Nerds. Don't worry. It's not over. There's still plenty of Bid Nerds to go today. We got to talk about the cars that we've selected for today. I think the first car I'm really stoked about because this is just, I love almost everything about this car, except maybe the engine. What do you think of this car? Tell us about this car, Michael Deeb.
So listen, man. Matt Whitesell's going to drive down here and slap me across the face. But
Matt Whitesell. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, because I still understand why anybody would put 4 cylinders in a Porsche like that. If you have a choice in a 914 between a 4-cylinder and a 6-cylinder, why would anybody buy the 4-cylinder? I speak as someone who's never owned one. And it's the same thing. Like when I look at this, I see a 911, and then somebody's like, "Oh no, Deeb, that's a 912," and I'm like, "Why are we still talking about it then? It doesn't even. It's somebody stole 2 of the cylinders." But anyway, what's very interesting, JP, is the original 912 was an economic choice for somebody that couldn't afford the 911, or maybe someone that couldn't insure the 911 because it was a sports car. I imagine the 912s were an economical choice for those 2 main reasons. They made several different versions of the coupe and the Targa. Let me see if I can do the math on this. Again, Whitesell, come down here and beat me up. It's 67, 68, and maybe 69. And then they stopped doing it.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yep.
And then they started offering the 914, which was initially a collaboration with Volkswagen, even though Porsche wound up producing it completely on their own. If my math is correct, in 75 was the last year of the 914, and in 76, I think Porsche wanted to offer an economic choice. So what they decided to do was go back to that original formula and offer 4-cylinder on the 11 platforms. So this is the 3rd year of the mid-year Porsche, the new accordion bumper, what we call the G series now. But it's the one and only year that this design of the 911 is offered with just 4 cylinders. So what we're showing you out of Walnut, California, is the only version of the 1976 912E. So this car is kind of a unicorn. The 912 hadn't been around for about 5 years. They only did this for 1 year, and these cars, because of their low production numbers, have become kind of rare, and kind of their values are on the rise. This car was purchased by the consignor in 2015. He wound up putting in a replacement 2-liter flat 4 that is carbureted. He rebuilt the original 5-speed gearbox, and then he repainted the car in the original shade of signal yellow and kind of refurbished the car and brought it back to life. So what we're looking at here is a refurbished car, but I don't want to say it's restored because they didn't keep the matching numbers motor, which is, I think, going to wind up being a huge mistake in what's going to prevent this particular car, which I think has a lot of eyeball, from reaching the $40,000 range that a refurbished or a restored 912E could potentially bring, especially one that's this eye-catching. But JP, upon closer inspection, maybe the sugar scoops are correct, but that side view mirror, I'd be willing to bet, should be
Okay, so maybe we're losing Michael Deeb here. I'm not hearing him well. So just so you guys know, so 76 was actually the last year of the 914. So they did sell them at the same time. This being a slick top is pretty cool. I'm not sure if we're still going here. If you're watching this live, we apologize. We are having some technical issues, big time. Let's see if switching over and getting out of the video. No, we lost Michael Deeb. Let's see if he comes back in. Technical difficulties, everybody.
Sorry, JP.
Stand by here. All right, so we're bringing it back. Okay, so I'm going to pick up where Deeb left off. Sorry about that, everybody. We had a little technical
problem. Can you hear
me? I can hear you now. So
good.
The 76, they did make the 914 in 76, so Deeb's absolutely right. The 76 was the single year for the 912 with the impact bumpers. With that Type 4 engine, it is an odd engine, but our friend Bradley Brownell from Jalopnik and he's a respected journalist. He's all over in the Porsche world. He has a car that looks identical to this one, except that it looks like it's been, run through, a couple of tornadoes and has not been restored. And I love his car. But he describes the 912 of this year. It's best. It's like someone took a Vanagon and put it in the dryer and it just shrank around that Type 4 engine. I mean, it really is like a 1980 Volkswagen Vanagon with that boxer engine. Because they had a bunch of those left over. Look, the thing is about that engine too, and this particular configuration, unlike the previous 912s that had Type 1, basically Volkswagen type engines, the Type 4 engine is it's that flatter engine. Everything's kind of more suited for a 911 engine bay, which is great, which makes sense. But be careful when you buy one of these cars. The tin that surrounds the bottom of the engine that kind of separates the air from the engine cabin and the air below. Those tins are impossible to find. Nobody makes them. And if you don't have that tin, the car is going to overheat all the goddamn time. It's crazy how these 912s being just that 1 year had some one-off pieces that have now become just absolute unobtainium. But they really are fun cars. And, no, not a 911. This one I love in this kind of, this is signal orange. It looks like school bus orange to me.
Signal yellow.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that really rich yellow, and it looks fantastic on this car. Go ahead.
Let me just interrupt. So Bring a Trailer calls it signal yellow, but on the certificate of authenticity, Porsche calls it light yellow, 86B6 or something. So anyway, that might be up for debate. If we have the name of the color wrong, it's what BAT is suggesting. So I'm not sure. It looks like a guess on their part. Yeah.
So what a great car to do. If you're going to do an engine swap, why wouldn't you put a 2.7 in there or something like that, or a 3-liter? Because it has a slick top and it has its narrow body. I mean, this car would be perfect for, whatever. But,
a slick top, slab-sided impact bumper car. That is a unicorn sitting there. I mean, that's a really cool looking car. Yeah, European rear bumperettes would be the finishing touch on that to give it a really light look, it would look really cool. I really do like the eyeball on this car, but the 4-cylinder, I wouldn't give any money for it. It's just, I'm not interested.
Well, what do you think someone will give money for it? Because this is Bid Nerds, and we're here to predict what someone else will bid for the car, not what we would pay for the car. That'd be dumb.
That's a really good question. So it's got a few hours to go. It's on 12 bids at just under $26,000, JP. I think this car is still going to bring $30,000. But I say that with the caveat that if that wasn't a place motor and it looked this good, you're talking $39,000, maybe $40,000 for this car. But I think it's going to be held back by the motor swap. And yet it's probably a great driving car. And as such, it's still a great value at $30,000. Not for me personally. I've tried to make heads or tails with Mondays on these auction sites, particularly Bring a Trailer. And it's like sometimes we see Mondays just being a disaster, like cars not bringing any money. And then other times Mondays is like, what is going on in the universe? I mean, do we need to check the Dow before we look at these things? Do we look at what gold prices are doing? I mean, is it just like, is there an inverse or, I'd love to just like kind of sync those things up and see what, did Bitcoin shoot up over the weekend? So people are like,
oh, I'm going to go buy a 912 or their GameStop stock. I don't know what to think. This car is beautiful. I think this is a better engine to put in it than what was in it. But you're right. If you're going to do something like this and you're going to make it all pretty, why not make it either original or step up and put a real engine in it? I'm going to say, because of the eyeball, I'm going to bet the over. I'm going to give you a little bit of spread. I'm going to say 32. And
really?
Wow. Because
look at my partner.
911s. I mean, Porsche coupes are just way over. There's just something weird is going on with the universe. I mean, if this were a 76 mid-year 911, it would be over 40 with a slick top.
For sure.
I mean,
sure.
So, whereas just a year ago, that would be, you'd struggle to get 30 for a 911 mid-year. So, jeez, I mean, looking this good, I'm completely right. I think maybe if it were a mid-year 911 in this good a condition, even if the engine wasn't the original one, if it was just a 2.7, I mean, geez,
So
and
JP, even at your bid, which is higher than mine, at 32, you could still afford to buy this car and still go do the engine swap and be a good value. I wouldn't surprise this car brought a little more money. You could absolutely
buy a 2.7 for 20 grand and slap it in here for a few grand. And
for sure.
Really
nice
I mean,
get a 3-liter.
Maybe we should buy this thing. All right. So there it is. Porsche 912e 1976. Very unique car, 1 year. And good luck to the seller and happy bidding out there, guys. All right. Let's get to our other cars today. We got 3 or 4 more cars to talk about, and I want to get to those. Let's move on. What's next?
Okay. Cars and Bids is offering a 2003 BMW M5. This is the last year for the E39 platform. So what we're talking about here is a 4.9-liter V8 with a manual 6-speed transmission, normally aspirated. This is one of BMW's better, if not great, all-time driver's cars. And man, they sold a lot of these. People were lined up around the block for the entire 4 or 5 year run that these cars were on. And they've always actually, the ones that didn't mile out or get banged up held their value pretty well. Spectacular examples of these cars now are bringing, close to, if not more than the original sticker price, which is probably not uncommon for some the special limited production BMWs. But it'll be interesting to see what our car brings out of La Cañada, California. This is 126,000 miles, but it's not been damaged. It hasn't been hit. It's just very clean with a few miles on it. And it's just a no-nonsense, no stories offering. Very few modifications, just a few little cosmetic things, not even worth mentioning. This is a bare stock, just perfect example that I imagine has a lot of life in it if you continue the upkeep. So JP, what do you think? Does the black and black manual M5 do it for you, or does that walnut wood just send you packing?
You know how much I love that walnut wood, but I don't think they made the brushed aluminum trim in this era. Did they?
They did.
Okay, well, I hope so.
That was the big thing.
That would look great. I know they made like a carbon fiber one, but look, I love these seats. I love the kind of the creases, the pleats, or whatever the hell you call them. They look like Darth Vader's uniform or something like that. This is such a great driver's car, though. I mean, many people. I know so many guys. I know at least a couple guys in the era that were like, well, now I have kids, so I can't have a 2-door sports car, and they convinced the wife to be able to get themselves one of these so they could have the car seats in the back and then just rip around the canyons on the weekend in this, mid-sized saloon, and just have such a great time. I mean, still one of the greatest driver's cars ever, even though it's kind of a big car, especially for its age. Certainly compared to now, though, I mean, a 5 Series is as big as, in a condo building. What is going on with the interior trim on this thing? Has the airbag gone off on this thing? Is that what we're seeing here?
It doesn't mention anything about that.
That is really concerning to me, looking at the
hot weather. The car was in Texas most of its life, so maybe it's got that wrinkle. What we see with these leather dashboards, JP, is that the moisture goes away, the leather starts to grip and crinkle, and it pulls the foam that these things are wrapped around, and they just can't hold up to the heat in the United States. So maybe that
seems to be in pretty decent condition, but not. I mean,
but you and I know dashboard's a deal breaker.
Yeah, dashboard's a deal breaker. I would not want it, because the problem is you're looking at if the back seats are all messed up, who cares? You can't see those. You know, this is what I'm doing when I'm driving, and if the dashboard's cracked, it's right there the whole time. It's in my dang face. I don't want to see that.
Everywhere you go, you're in a bad mood. You're like, oh, I arrived angry.
Golly. So I don't know. This car is really great. Where's the bid at right now? Where do you think this thing's going to land?
It's at 17,500 on 12 bids, and it's on Cars and Bids. I think this car. Here's another car that listen, Doug's lucky he got it, but he's got to bring the money for these cars because I think he's going to leave money on the table. This should be a $30,000 car, and my bid, not to spoil the big surprise, but I'm putting it at like $25,000. So
where's it sitting at right now?
It's 17.5, 12 bids.
Yeah.
12 bids.
Yeah, 25 is a long way to go on
right?
on Cars and Bids, but you're right. I mean, that's kind of where it should be. 125,000 miles. Did it mention? And maybe I'm sorry if I missed it. You said already. Were the Vanos were those replaced already? The head job on these.
Let's see. Revised. Yes. It says. It says from the factory, revised Vanos accumulators and piston rings were fitted starting in early 2000, and automatic headlights were added in 2002 model year. So they're talking about the
Okay, so here's the thing, guys. If you don't know anything about these, if you know anything about a Porsche 911 water pumper, the early ones, the 996, 997, what does everyone say? Has the IMS been done? Well, if you're getting this generation of M5, the question is Vanos. Just look it up on the interwebs. It is up to a $10,000 repair job, and it can grenade the engine if not taken care of. So that could be a very, very big problem at 125,000 miles. That is exactly when it is due. So if there's no mention of that service being done, then that will hold this car back. And it is because, I mean, obviously a $10,000 bill on top of 17.5 puts us in a bad place.
At 126,000 miles, which was last December, 2020, so just a few months ago, they did everything, but they didn't mention that, right? So oil, filter, accessory belt, air conditioning, compressor belt, brake lines, brake fluid, alarm hood switch, but that's it. They didn't do any of the other stuff. And the month before it, in November, at 115,000 miles, so he put in 11,000 miles in 1 month, valve cover gasket and the rear tires were replaced. And so all that service from last year, and they don't mention the Vanos. So that's kind of a bummer.
That is an ominous omission. It'd be one thing if they said, hey, the Vanos has been checked and and it seems to be fine, but to just completely avoid the subject is to be like, no, nothing to see here. Oh, they didn't ask. Okay, plausible deniability. That seems like an issue to me. I would not touch this car. I don't know if there's any mention of it in the comments. Maybe there is. I don't know. Like I said, I never do my homework, kids. So I'm gonna bet the under then and just go 19.
I'm gonna 19. Yeah, and I'm gonna lower my bid down to 23 because of the moment,
fair enough.
The omission. But I'm still. You still give you $4,000, buddy. You're in good shape. So
I don't know. I mean,
JP,
someone might not know this.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, people don't watch. You know, this is why you watch Bid Nerds. Watch the Bid Nerds, people. I could have just saved you $10,000 if you're the person who might buy this.
Yeah, we're here to save your life.
But don't listen to us. Don't take advice from us. No. Certainly do not take financial advice from us. Yeah. We do not know what we're talking about, to be clear.
I'm waiting for the first person in the Bid Nerd audience to come forward and say he owns an air-cooled Porsche and a BMW wagon and a Jeep Wrangler and a van. His wife has a van again. It might be me, but it's going to be pretty funny. Somebody's going to be like, hey, man, I've been listening to you guys for 6 months, and this is what my garage looks like. And we'll be like, oh, shit.
Oh, man.
We created a monster.
He is financially ruined, that poor person. Oh, man. Totally. Do not listen to us. All right, so funny. Let's get back to the cars, kids. What's the next car? We got to move on.
All right, JP, we're going big, man. This is I saw this car, and I got really excited. Out of Topeka, Kansas.
Yes.
How did this vehicle not get used? It's a 1997 Ford F250 HD Super Cab XLT with the venerable 7.3 liter Power Stroke diesel. This is a 4x4, and it's only got 28,000 original miles. JP, in 14 years, this car has only done 2,000 miles a year. It literally looks like a brand new truck. And what's amazing, I'm just going to the chase, thing was only $32,000 brand new 14 years ago, and yet our car is sitting at $43,000 with an hour and a half to go. I mean, this is from what I understand too. You know, Ford isn't necessarily famous for their diesels, but this diesel that Ford made, and again, maybe tell me if I'm wrong if it's another one, but I think it's this diesel that they are famous for. Like this thing you could put 1 million miles on this motor. Am I wrong? Isn't that the one that they made?
I'm not an expert on these, but absolutely, yeah, the power.
I think this particular diesel, like guys who are Chevy guys are like, well, you know, if you really want a deal, go find one of those like early in the century Fords with the diesels. Those things will go forever. I might be wrong. I'm not a domestic guy, but I think that this one is the unicorn that Ford got right, or they got maybe the power strokes from, you know, Cummins or something. I'm not sure. It's somebody's diesel, and it's supposed to be bulletproof. So here's the vehicle that will tow your house. JP, I put a note for you to read. Look at this. 225 horsepower, 450 pound-foot of torque. I mean, that is a stump pulling motor if ever there was one. And sky's the limit. Somebody's going to pay for this because, you know, it's funny. A brand new one's like $80,000 now. You know, they got really stupid expensive.
True. Yeah. No, this truck is so cool. I mean, growing up, my proximity to things like this. I mean, I grew up in a place where this is what people drove. They drove Ford and Chevy trucks.
Right.
And I should know a lot more about them given my proximity to them, but I really don't. I do know that the 250 is, you know, kind of a big deal. And if you've got a motorhome or a bunch of horses or some industrial equipment or a backhoe or something like that, you get one of these to tow it around. And you're right. I mean, this is an industrial piece of equipment. This isn't a vehicle for someone to be. The person that wants a truck to drive around, they get a 150. If you have actual need for a truck, you get a 250 or maybe a 350 if you have something, you know, if you're
really heavy
tanks or something like that. But you know, I mean, this really is a piece of farm equipment, or hardly anybody bought one of these that didn't have a specific use for it. So to see this one with low miles and to look at that bed and see that there isn't a single scratch. I mean, they never, you know, in the commercials, they always see some big, huge, massive tractor dumping a load of gravel into the back, you know, which would blow out all the windows and everything like that. But, you know, whatever, you know, or dropping some steel girders in there or something. But this one doesn't even look like it's gone to Costco. I mean, you haven't even had a bag of pretzels in the back of this thing. Look at that dashboard. We always talk about dashboards. Man. This thing is perfect.
Where's the Doritos bag and the empty Mountain Dew can?
Yeah, right.
You know,
I mean, there should be like, you know, sweat stains from 4 guys wearing overalls from the back of this thing. I would absolutely drive this car every day and love it.
Oh my God. In Vegas, that would be the shit. That would be awesome.
You know, the thing I don't like about it though, and I got to say it's really bumming me out looking at it, is that this one has a center console on the seat, right? Like, I don't think you can have. Oh wait, no, I'm wrong. I think I'm wrong. So I think that flips up. Yes, so your lady can be right there next to you, and your dog can be right next to her. All right, this is the ultimate, like, shoe doggy vehicle. Yeah, bring your girl down, get your best girl and your best dog, and go down to the drive-in movie theater, and you got a crew cab in the back. Let your mind go from there. Or maybe
JP, when you were saying that this is an industrial piece of equipment, and that if you wanted to drive around, you get a 150, and all I could think of is like, he's right. He's absolutely right. I guarantee you, even with only 28,000 miles on it, nobody's ever parallel parked this thing. You know,
It's true. It's true. This has not been to the mall.
Never. And then on the radio commercials, you know, the most interesting man in the world, the beer commercials.
Oh yeah, just like
you know how the guy comes on and he says he does all these incredible things, and he said the narrator says one time he parallel parked a freight train. I'm like, that's brilliant.
Man, that would be
anyway,
that would
JP.
Be okay,
our cars got out of Topeka, Kansas, are unused.
Topeka, Kansas. Could it possibly be in a better place too? That's where you would expect to find one of these.
Seriously, yeah. Our barely broken in 28,000 mile 1997 F250 Super Cab is sitting at $43,000. Again, $11,000 over the MSRP, not the base price, but the actual sticker price. So I think this car is going to bring 50 grand, and you know, and if it brought more, it wouldn't surprise me, because again, if you wanted to buy a brand new one, the conversation starts at like $65,000 for an F250.
I'm going way over that, man. I'm going to go 55. I'm going to go
wow,
crazy Monday.
you're nuts.
This thing, somebody wants this thing. It's going to the moon, because you can drive. I mean, how many miles is the moon? Is it like 93 million? Or no, that's the sun. I don't know. It's however many miles it is to the moon, 280 or something like that, you could put on this vehicle. It's that new, and they're that reliable. If there was a road to the moon and back, you could drive there in this car.
How many miles is it from Vegas to Miami? It's like 2,800, right? I think the moon is just like a few exits further away.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Just don't stop at Zizix. For those of you who've been to LA from Vegas, you know what I'm talking about. Lots of scorpions. Don't lay down on the ground there. Okay, moving on. Let's hear what's next. What do we got?
Okay, JP, we talked about this car on the show a couple of weeks ago, and then I've been actually scouring the internet looking for one to make an offer. And then this thing shows up on Bring a Trailer like right under our noses. In the meantime, I've already bought a second car, so I can't afford to get this. But what we're looking at is a car I've fallen head over heels in love with. This is a 2010 Volkswagen Jetta TDI Cup Edition.
Yeah.
This car has
on the diesel train here.
Only 37,000 miles. Yeah. Now, the problem is, and JP, I have not been able to prove myself wrong. I think that these cars only came with the 6-speed DSG automatic transaxle. I don't think, at least in the United States, that you could get the TDI motor, that gorgeous front end, and a manual transmission. If it did come that way, I probably would buy this car. But since it's automatic, I'm never actually going to go out and try and run this thing and drive it. So, but our consignor, or somebody before our consignor out of Livermore, California, put on these beautiful wheels, these 19-inch new speed wheels. Those are Porsche Cayenne brakes, the entire thing. So the 6-piston calipers up front and the 4-piston Brembo calipers out back with the discs. This is the full Cayenne brake package, which I'm guessing is probably like even used has got to be like a $3,500 to $5,000 value. Brand new would probably set you back like 10 grand, which I'm sure they're not new. They had to have come from a pick and pull or something. But man, do those brakes under those black mesh BBS looking wheels, this car's got eyeball for days. That's sick. Yeah. So anyway, cloth seats a la GTI, and a TDI motor that you probably fill it up once or twice a month. I mean, like that thing, let me read it to you real quick, JP, and I'll let you have the floor. 140 horsepower and 240 pound-foot of torque. And I'm willing to bet this thing's perilously close to 3,000 pounds, which is today's standard for an economy car, a subcompact. That's still pretty light. So there you go, man. What do you think?
I love that Thunder Bunny front end. Yes, fuel economy wise, there is nothing better. Those of you who know me know that back in this era, I was actually hired by Volkswagen, sort of, to take one of these. It wasn't a Cup. It was a TDI. What the heck was it? It was just the regular Volkswagen TDI of the same era, and a Prius. So it was the same Prius of the same year. We drove one from Portland, Maine to Portland, Oregon. We called it the Portland to Portland road trip. So we had the two cars. And
what time of year?
It was an awful time of year. It was like late February, early March. It took us like 3 weeks. Brutal. Yeah. So, I mean, but that was kind of part of the appeal, right? We wanted to put these cars under, but we had 20 press stops to go. So this is Portland to Portland via Miami and Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and, DC. And so we just went all the way down the eastern seaboard and then zigzagged across the country and then made our way finally to Portland, Oregon. But
that sounds like a continental flight.
Oh man, yeah, right. So it was nobody I will tell you, nobody wanted to ride in that Prius. The Prius just sucked to the inside of. Whereas the crew was like, oh god, I hope our turn is in the So yeah, no. Now the Cup version of this. Oh my gosh! I mean, it's that much better. This
so
is
cool.
I mean, it's front-wheel drive, but this is like a GTI with a freight train under the hood. I mean, all that torque. You hit the big pedal on the right, and you're gone. I mean, it almost feels like an electric car. I mean, they're just so much.
There's a company that sells stage 1 through stage 3 ECUs that you can drop in or flash these things.
Yeah.
And JP, I don't know what it is for the car, but I've looked at it for our Cayenne diesel. I mean, I imagine you could practically, I imagine you get close to 400 pound-foot of torque out of one of these things with the ECU flash. Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's all you do is flash it.
The thing, Volkswagen was so proud of how clean the diesels were. One of the things that we did, so our little thing that we'd stop at a Volkswagen dealership in each city, right? And we'd have the local news guys would show up, and our little bit was we had 2 bits that we'd do for the news guys. We would pick 3 people from that would show up for the news bit, and we'd give them a turn in the Prius. And I think I've talked about this before, but we would give someone a prize, whoever could get the Prius to move the fast, how long does it take you to get a Prius to go, right? So if you've never been in a Prius, get in one and get it to move 10 feet. That's much harder than you think if you've never driven one, right? They're not intuitive. They're just so stupid. And then our thing with the actual TDI is we would get a coffee filter and we would zip tie it to the exhaust pipe for 5 minutes, and then we would take the filter off and then run coffee, and everybody, the whole crew, and everybody would drink coffee. It's so clean, we could use a coffee filter and drink from it. I wish there was footage of that somewhere. There probably is on a hard drive somewhere, but that was,
I'd love to see the crew's children and their webbed feet,
Yes, good times. Oh my God. I will say though, with that whole BS, the Dieselgate thing, even considering the algorithm thing that Volkswagen did, that they cheated the system, still literally look this up. It's like 30 times less than a legal Ford F-150.
Oh, right.
So, I mean, what are we talking about here? And how many more Ford F-150s are there? Lots of them. And compared to that diesel that we just had, the Power Stroke 90, that thing is putting out more emissions than the dirtiest of dirtiest TDIs could, even if you tuned it in a way to make it as dirty as possible. So, I mean, these are pretty damn clean cars, people. That was all.
Oh, dude. Okay, so listen to this now. Jeff Harley, friend of the Bid Nerds.
A lot of time on this little.
Jeff Harley bought has an S2000, 02 S2000. He still has it. So I leased one because I loved his car in 06, and I took it from the dealership. I drove it for 2 or 3 days, and then I needed to stop for gas. I stopped for gas, and I pull up at the pump, and I could not figure out how to open the gas cap on an S2000. And I literally calling him from the gas station, and he didn't pick up. And some dude on the other side walked over, and he goes, "Are you looking for the gas cap?" And I was like, "Yeah, how'd you know?" And he goes, "It's really tricky." And he showed me how to do it. And then Harley called me back and he goes, "What's it worth to you?" And I was like, "I actually figured it out," but it was really funny. But it's that same thing like with the Prius. If somebody hasn't shown you, it's not readily apparent. It was really funny. I was stumped for 5 minutes. I was like, how the hell do you open this thing? It's really funny.
I will say, last thing on the diesel, one of the things that we did too, another video that we did is we drove the TDI Jetta, the base one, from Seattle to San Francisco on a single tank of fuel. And it still had a tenth of a tank left by the time we got there. So that's unbelievably good economy.
Yeah.
I mean,
our Cayenne,
900 miles to a tank.
Our Cayenne diesel will leave Vegas and arrive across the Bay Bridge to come into San Francisco with more than a quarter of a tank of gas left. Yeah. So in other words, it takes about 74% of a tank to get to San Francisco. So in Cayenne speak, you can drive around San Francisco for 3 more days on that quarter tank of gas before we need to fill up. It's amazing.
You've got this whole diesel thing versus electric cars, huh? Yeah, and I mean everybody's got this thing with electric. It's like, okay, you don't have to ever put gas in the electric car, but how many tractor trucks and bulldozers are digging up all the metals that they need to make batteries in China, where they have no emissions requirements? They're just dumping raw, gasoline and diesel into industrial equipment and just spewing so that they can get materials to make clean cars over here.
And then when we're done with those clean cars,
diesel here, we'd be better off.
Yeah, when we're done with those cars, where are we going to bury the batteries? Like, like that's just like
cars with a half-life, not a good idea. Okay, we hung on with the diesel
Yeah.
thing there a little long today. I guess we're on a diesel theme. Where do you think 12.5 with an hour and a half to go? Where's this thing going to land? Cool.
JP, I'm gonna up my bid $2,000 to $19,000. I don't think it'll bring 20, but I'd 20. I love it. I just don't think anybody else likes it as much as I do. So tell me what your bid. What do you think?
Gosh, that's tough. I mean, low miles and how many bids? I mean, it's in California, so it's in the right place for it.
Livermore, California is here in the Bay Area. It's on 37,000 miles, and it's already 11 years old.
Yeah, look, fuel is cheap right now, and everyone's on the electric kick, and it's like it's a really weird person. There are diesel enthusiasts out there, and like you look at the market, the TDIs are getting all the TDIs that went back on the market after they had the update from Volkswagen, all got gobbled up because they gave them great warranties and stuff like that, like 10-year warranties.
Oh
and stuff.
my God, yeah.
So
totally.
they all took off, and they're all like 10, 15 grand or whatever. But something like this is so rare, and it's a sport version of it. How cool is that? I'm with you. It'd be way better if it were a manual. A 2014 or whatever 15 6-speed Golf 2-door TDI is worth $15,000 all day long.
Right.
So this thing has to be worth a lot more, given that
one
it's
of
the
one of
version.
15. Yeah, one of 1,500 Cup editions.
Yeah, it is just the Mark 6 though, which wasn't the most attractive looking Jetta, but with that nose, it makes up for it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. What'd you say? Did you say 19?
19.
Man, do I go under or over? I think it's gonna be right in there. I'll go 18 just to be conservative. Okay. I mean, I'm probably wrong. I hope it goes for more. This is a cool car.
JP, I know we're trying to get to the next car, but tell me real quick. The Thunder Buddy, that front end was originally on a Golf that was like a race car, right? Or a special edition in Europe, and then they brought it to the United States on the Jetta.
That sounds right. Yeah, it was probably a race car, but it was on a base Volkswagen
special.
Rabbit. It was
special edition in Europe.
They called it the Thunder Bunny.
And
they did bring it here.
They did.
I owned one. Yeah, Thunder Bunnies are absolutely here. It was when they rebranded. So they had the Mark. What was it? The Mark 5s or whatever were Golfs, and then when they brought out the Mark 6, I want to say. Somebody's going to correct me on that. I'm getting so confused, but yeah. Or maybe it was the other way. Anyways, that when they brought that car out, when they refurbished it, they wanted to really, and they rebranded as the Rabbit instead of the Golf. They came out with a special version, the Thunder Bunny, and you could get the Thunder Bunny kit on a GTI as well. And the regular Rabbit was a stick as well. In fact, I think all of them were.
And the regular Rabbit Thunder Bunny was not a diesel. Only the Jetta with that front end is a diesel, right?
That is correct. Yeah. So the Thunder Bunny was the regular 5-cylinder, 2.5 liter or whatever.
Got it.
And then the GTI was whatever was in the GTI. And then of course a couple years later.
That's become I'm going to hunt now for a Thunder Bunny GTI with a manual. That would be that'd be a car I would rock. Yeah, I want that. No, so keep your eyes out. The nerd herd out there. So
nerd herd. We're what is it?
Tell us when you see one. We want one.
Yeah, crowdsourcing. We're herd sourcing here.
Herd sourcing. Okay, JP. This next car is right up your alley. This is a no reserve auction. Woo. Bring a Trailer is offering a modified 2008 Cayenne S that has the 4.8 liter V8. It's a 6-speed automatic, so it's not quite Polnik approved, but it definitely makes him proud to see people doing this to the Cayennes. This one, by all accounts, JP, looks really nicely done. There's not a light bar. There's not push bars. Those look like factory skid plates for an E1. But what's interesting is that he went 33-inch tires on 20-inch wheels. Correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of these off-road cars are big knobby tires on just 18-inch wheels. So you'll have to explain to me what the benefit, if it's just a cosmetic flair or if there's a benefit to these wheels and tires. But just completely blacked out. I love the flat black paint on these wheels. 119,000 miles on this E1 V8 out of Jacksonville, Florida. Small lift, but big wheels and tires, and just a really great overland look that is becoming totally in vogue for especially these early E1 Cayennes. So, John, take it away. Tell me about this car and tell me about the benefits of those big wheels for an off-road application.
Those are not just big wheels and big tires. This thing has a complete lift kit. I haven't really dug into it, but you are not fitting a wheel and tire package that big without getting this thing off the ground. And
just
that
2.5
is complex.
inches.
Yeah, I mean, a couple inches is a lot, though. And requires a lot of work to get in there and change it up. But big, huge benefits because, I mean, you're just look. This thing has so much power that if you get in any kind of muck, you're just going to spin the wheels and get stuck. So if you look at it, like a lot of times American off-road vehicles, you look at American trucks and they've got like these big, huge knobby tires. And then you look at the old school Land Rovers and they've got the narrow little tires. You gotta consider what you're going to be digging through. Are you digging through sand? Are you digging through, mud? If you need to get down to where you can get some grip, and so narrower tires can get down and find that grip, whereas big wide tires can just make you slide all over the place. But this thing, when you have lots of power, those wheels are going to spin and they're going to get down to somewhere, and you're either going to go in circles or you're going to go down and find traction. This thing,
true.
Yeah, this thing was really done well. I'm trying to go back to the pictures of the wide.
This thing looks like a climber, like what those Jeep guys do when they go over little rocks and boulders on like a trail. Yeah. Whereas, like you said, in the UK where the grass and the mud is wet year round, you need those narrow tires to find traction and pull yourself out of getting stuck. And so, definitely this has a specific application based on that description. That's a great take.
Yeah, I just love it. Just all black like this. It's funny because I just sold one of these for someone that was all black like this, and now I'm just like so disappointed I didn't do this to it. Man. So the biggest tire you can put a Cayenne without raising is 265, 65, 18, or 265. I guess it would be 55, 19. It depends on what size your wheel is, but 265 is about as wide as you can get. I think you can throw some spacers on there and maybe get a little wider, but man, this thing looks good.
It looks fantastic. I love it. I mean, I really love it. And I think with those bigger wheels and tires, despite the lift, that this thing would still hum on down the road.
It's still going to handle great. It's still a freaking Porsche.
And then JP, it's got that
20,000.
JP, it's got that swing out carrier that looks like it's built into the door. It doesn't look like it's like attached to a trailer hitch, or is it?
I don't know how. That is definitely an aftermarket piece of kit, and I don't know how they put that on there.
I think it's on a trailer hitch. Yeah.
Oh, is it from? Yeah, it does look like there's a bracket that goes down below that's going.
Anyway, it's just really cool. I love that look with the gas tanks fitted in behind the tire, and then you can swing it out and lift your gate. It's really dope. You have to turn off your parking sensors, but it's really cool.
Don't rear end this vehicle when those jerry cans are full of fuel. That would
right. Yeah, totally. So JP, our car is at $20,000. Again, 120,000 miles on an E1 Cayenne S out of Jacksonville, Florida, but with probably, I'm guessing, $10,000 in upgrades, right? I mean, could you get that stuff for less than that?
Yeah, I mean, it probably cost you about $4,000 to do the lift kit, and those wheels and tires setup is probably another $2,000 or $3,000. I mean, look, if this is just a regular 2008 Cayenne S with that many miles on it, it's worth $12,000. Give it like $1,000, period. That's just what it's worth. So the fact that it's sitting at 20 already is pretty amazing. But it hasn't had a bid in a while. I mean, I think it's been sitting on that number for a couple of days.
12 bids.
Yeah. So, is it going to find a late surge at the end? I sure hope so, because I have a Cayenne similar to this one coming up on Bring a Trailer soon. Mine is a manual. This one is not. It's funny looking at the comments. Someone's like, if I ever found a Trans-Siberian manual, it'd be a keeper. Well, yeah, duh, because they didn't make them. That would be a magic car. So the only manuals that they made were, So anyways.
So true.
I think someone's going to step up maybe a little bit more, but where do you think it's going to land?
I wrote 25, but I actually think my instinct is closer, like a little softer on that. So I'm going to go 24,000 JP and put it to you. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go under. I'm going to say 23. I think it finds like maybe a bid or two more, because it's been so long since the other bid is coming. I mean, I sure hope this thing gets up to 30. There was a 2000, JP, I want to say 8 Turbo S a month ago, and it had 173,000 miles on it. And it had big tires and a livery and a cool rack and stickers, but it didn't have a lift. And it was. Yeah. I mean, this is so much better. I mean, oh my gosh, way more reliable. I don't want a turbo when I'm off-roading. And that one went for 37.
Yeah, and I think when you put the livery, the car comes like a second car. I mean, to daily a livery car is a bit strong.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I love it, and I'll do one of these days. I might even do it to our diesel. But this thing in black, oh, it's like really
so
cool.
good.
Like
I
think this is
the
eyeball is
murder
amazing.
look is a livery.
Oh
in
my
and of
god,
itself. Yeah.
totally. Yeah, it's really sick. So all right, so you're 23.
All right.
Okay, JP. That's a show, man.
That's it for the day. All right. Well, there you go,
Yeah.
guys. Look for my Cayenne coming up. We'll talk about that later in the week. That's been a Monday edition. We made it through. It's been a hell of a morning. Everyone, thanks for hanging out with us. We do this Monday through Friday. Usually it's much more smooth than this. Nerd out with us every day of the week, Monday through Friday, on the most interesting cars of the day on Cars and Bids and Bring a Trailer and whatever other auction sites tend to pop up here. We're going to try to get some guests, some third nerds to join us this week, mix things up just a little bit. Yeah. And we really appreciate you guys hanging out. Make sure you like and subscribe and share and all that kind of fun stuff. Let people know that we do the show. And we will see you tomorrow morning around the 10 o'clock hour. Bid often. Was it bid early, bid often?
Yeah.
Like that? All right, there we go.
Get in on the action. Yeah.
There it is. All right. Happy bidding, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Thanks, JP.